Hello there, and welcome to another. Well, welcome. Yep, just like that. Welcome to another exciting edition of Frontier Friday. I am your host, CCP Jötunn, and it is the end of the year, and I am joined, of course, by my lovely guest, CCP Overload. Oh. Yep, just casually sipping on. Is there anything in that glass?
Gin and juice, baby.
Hell yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's the end of the year. We're here in the studio. I'm, to be very clear, not just joined by CCP Overload, also joined by our lovely guest, the ghost of CCP Goodfellas past. Look at him go.
Anything to say, CCP Goodfella?
Oh,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Oh. Yep, we're doing that. So you go ahead and scoot over. Thank you. Friends, family, everybody, welcome to the final episode of Frontier Friday for 2025. We started off we started off a year ago with the launch of Founder Access, and now we are here a year or so removed from that. And boy, howdy, what a year it has been. We're going to go through some stuff. I had a lovely 25-minute video that I have been compiling over the last 3 days with a ton of really cool clips from all of our past streams, a lot of cool images that I had found. And then while it was rendering last night, Windows decided to update my PC and it ate the render. So
the ghost of Windows Update.
The ghost of Premiere Pro was passed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Windows Update, for this gift that you've given me specifically on the eve of my birthday, actually. What a lovely gift for that, Microsoft. Thank you so much. But good news is I still have all the videos, so I just pulled a bunch of images out and we'll talk about them. So, nice. But before we do anything else, let's just chat real quick. It's been a hell of a year. I said a year ago we started off with Founder Access.
Yes.
And we had the launch party that we did, and we were on the PC Gamer Show. That was the one. Yeah. For the launch of Founder Access. We put out the first trailer back then, which was super cool. I don't have that trailer. You guys have all seen it. I mean, you know what's going on here. And it was a big moment for us. I mean, up until that point, when you started here in 2023? 22. This is a much smaller operation, certainly than it is now.
Yeah, there was like 8 people on the team.
I was going to say, before we do anything else, before we talk about anything else, getting to the point from where you guys started, you guys specifically back then, started to the point where we're a year ago, what kind of effort was that to get to just that point?
From
when you got here?
There was so much going on because we had, a glimmer in our eye, hope in our hearts.
Yeah.
And a strong motivation, but we still had a lot of finding to do, and very much it was heavy prototyping stage.
Yeah.
It was chopping and changing and trying stuff. It was pretty crazy. I remember some of the very first there were phases at the time.
Yeah.
That we ever did. We actually only had one server, which was the server we used to develop on.
It was Nebula, wasn't it?
No, that didn't exist yet.
Really?
It was Awakening. That was our very first one.
Oh my God.
It was the only one.
Yeah.
And that meant, so when we did those phases and we invited people in to play it, our server was the one that was being used.
Yeah.
So there was testing. What testing? it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then we had because the system was set up for us to use internally. So whenever we did a build change, it would just automatically deploy the client updates. So I would do a build, it wouldn't work. I'd be like, oh, that's a shame. We shouldn't use that.
Yeah.
Too late. It's already patched everyone's clients.
Yeah, that's very good.
So it was a total different environment.
It's really,
but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Looking back on it's really funny because I had Frontier, previously Project Awakening, leaked to me well in advance from what I probably even should have heard about it. This was the thing even before maybe I wasn't even on the CSM. Somebody leaked it to me. It was a bit of a leaky ship situation. But back then, it looked like it very much just like an Eve mod. And we've talked about this a little bit in the past about how, we really did start as just hey, what if we wanted to use, this specific tech stack in Eve? but on a different branch. Like, what would that look like?
We use it as prototyping, and I've spoken at length on this, that we're very lucky that we have. We're trying to build a multiplayer online spaceship game, and we're very lucky that we have access to the engine and the best engine for a online multiplayer spaceship game to base ourselves off. Like, we don't have to build all this like networking stuff, server architecture up from scratch from day one. So when it was a small team of like 8 to 10 people kind of just like hacking away at stuff and doing things, we could do it on top of existing things, reuse stuff. We didn't have to just use like a box. We could use existing ship models with effects and see how it felt to play. And that was way more important at the time, was like how things felt. And some stuff obviously didn't work, some stuff did work, some stuff has kind of like inferred decisions and designs and all sorts of stuff. And as we've matured as a team and a game, you can see, and it continues every time we do releases, it gets closer and closer to vision statements that we've been putting out, either in videos, trailers, presentations. It doesn't really matter. And that's a long process. Like, there's a fallacy of thinking you got it right the first time. And if we did that, then
has that ever been true?
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say
everything's always a dry run for the next time.
Right.
Nothing's ever done. Any artist knows this. And artists sometimes are most guilty of this, where they keep tweaking and changing stuff. They're not necessarily making it any better, but they're still changing it. Nothing's ever done. And we're still a long way from even being close to being done. But the journey is where you learn so much of it. And if you refuse to learn from the things you're doing, from the mistakes that you're making, from the wins that you have, then you're never going to be able to make a good game.
Was there, in your mind, a real clear vision of what this even fucking was back then? Like,
at its core, yes.
I mean, but were you saying things like survival game back in 2022?
Yeah. We were talking about it being like more of a survival focused game. We didn't sort of put the right label on it yet, because it was still kind of like narrowing down what that meant, and how that would come to fruition. And it still is being narrowed down and coming to fruition, to be very clear. But right back in 2022, I remember CCP Maximum Cats doing this presentation, and it was all about like biblical references and things like that.
We had one black hole back then.
Yeah, we did. It was called Moloch.
Moloch. I was almost. You remember we had this conversation. I was almost CCP Moloch as a result.
Yeah, but
there was already a previous CCP Moloch. I don't want to steal that CCP Moloch's thunder.
Yeah,
I think he worked in Atlanta though, so he's not here anymore.
Yeah,
but would have been cool.
Yeah,
but now we've got 3 black holes.
Yep,
objectively better than 1.
Yes, I mean, it depends on your perspective.
Fair enough.
If you are a citizen of a planet nearby,
probably not.
Great.
Yeah, that's fair. No. That's a good point. Well, let's go ahead and then, I mean, we can, we could talk all day about, sort of the long ago, and we will, because I've got a presentation for it. So we're going to go ahead and go to this screen where I prepared a slideshow. This is our years in review. I was going to do just a year in review, but then I found out that I have stuff back to the beginning of last year, beginning of 2024, which is kind of crazy. So just to go through some of this stuff real fast, which I think is kind of cool. Here's our very first survey that we put out in 2024. This, I believe, was the survey results for phase 2.
No, it wouldn't been phase 2.
It was before, because the very first one I was here for was phase 3. That was in like May of last year. That was when I was here.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it was phase 2. This was, so CCP Racks put this together.
Yeah.
Shout out to CCP Racks. But this is, I mean, you can.
Phase 1 was December 22.
Yeah. That would have been right. 22 into 23. This was, or no, that's not right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Something like that. Listen, time is an illusion. But here we have a bunch of, just like I said, if you zoom in here real close, we can't really see it because it's really far away and we're old. But the beginning of some differentiation here, a lot of interesting ship names, module names, player names. A lot of this is very, 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 very prototypey. It was very strange back then. There were a lot of, I'm pretty sure this was the last phase that used models from EVE Online as well.
Yeah, I think I remember this one because the universe was only like 40 systems and it was in a loop.
Yeah.
And it culminated with like a feral surge.
Yeah.
And it, like the ferals slowly took over each of the areas, and then like there was a huge like feral assault on the starting station at the time. That was good fun. I think that was either phase 3 or
that was
phase 1. Actually, there was actually a phase 0, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. But then there was phase 1, which was December 22.
Yeah.
Then I'm pretty sure phase 3 was like, I want to say May, or maybe that was phase 2 publicly. I can't remember. But then there was definitely one in December. That was our big one. That was like a month long.
Yeah.
Which I think is that one was referring to.
Okay, and that would make sense. We had that put together. Then we had back at the beginning of here we go. There we go. A lot more of this stuff. Let me move us over here real fast. We want to be on this side. You can see the beginning of some things, some interesting. The megafin is in there. That was the
Sheriff megafin.
That was the Marshall model.
Yep.
That was we've got a miner. We've got the Microptero made its first appearance in this one.
Oh, that was a great ship. That was super fun. I remember actually from phase 1.
Yeah.
It was a totally different set of ships and modules.
Yeah.
And I remember we were playing, and there was only like 6 systems in that particular playtest. And we figured out that there was actually a very rudimentary but functional version of essentially like the Cavalry Raven from
yeah.
I can't remember the name of the ship, but myself, Mystical Knight, Starfleet Commander, built them, and we're like flying in, and then I'm pretty sure we ganked CCB on a stream he was doing.
Very good,
which was fun.
Love that.
And then we had a pretty good system set up. There was a type of ammo called Red Cumulative S.
Excuse me?
Yeah. RED being like capitals, like that was the thing.
Sure.
And of course, to search it, to get it quickly, you just typed
red
and then the first 3 words of cumulative.
Redcon.
Yeah.
Yep,
and
very good.
so we had like we had a big storage unit full of it. So that was the bucket.
The bucket of Redcon. Very good. Love that for us. Okay, moving right along. We have now here, this is squarely in 2024. This is the beginning of the new base building prototype. Yep. You can still see on the left, this was believe the first iteration of the newer Neocom stuff before we went to
this was just removing the
original
EO assets from it because it was so blatantly in your face.
Oh yeah.
It was just a very easy thing to do, to like when you see a screenshot, you want to make it very clear.
Yeah.
Like even though it's like still like very much in the same like ballpark at this point, it's very clear that it's a different game, at least skinned.
And it's funny too because you mentioned that, because there were a lot of things back then that I felt like we did, certainly, because we had the terminal and the current UI has been in development for a long time and is continuing to be in development, where especially large sections of that are still getting overworked. But you're right. You want to be able to differentiate between things, especially because you're bringing in new playtesters, and you want new playtesters to focus on the new stuff that you're putting in, and not focus on the things that are there that feel like leftovers, right?
Exactly.
Which we still have some of, obviously. Here we have another iteration of this. This was, I believe, your bomb test. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
This was, I think, phase 3 ?
I remember there was one we were fiddling around with these weapon systems.
Yeah,
and we were changing the physics around it, and we were shooting out these sort of bombs and missiles, and they're going like normal, but then something wasn't quite working. And have you ever just let go of a balloon?
Yeah.
They were just doing that.
Just doing that.
It was incredible. And when they hit something, because of the glue, they just blew up.
Yeah.
So it was 50-50 chance whether you were going to blow yourself up.
There was we had cluster bombs back then too, didn't we? Or you could like, what was it, like you could drop like chain bombs behind you.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of
that was really cool.
This sort of testing. This is we were able to benefit from hacking systems from an existing thing.
Yeah.
To allow us to try these things, see how they felt quickly without having to build systems from the ground up. It was a really awesome leg up to find our own identity.
Moving right along, then we began the Project Awakening streams. This was
yes, the couches.
Look,
you can see we only have 2 posters there.
We did only have 2 posters. So this was before phase 3.
Yeah.
We've got 5 over there now.
We do,
because we have the 4 phases and then the founder access poster. Yep. This was the beginning of. This is when I started, because this was May of last year. We began these streams.
That's
Had a lot of
right.
really cool stuff going on. This was the first instance, by the way, of the sound issues on one of our streams.
First of many.
Well, yeah. I mean, some people are saying that, certainly. Where you are looking at your phone trying to figure out why people can't hear anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
The persist, and then CCP Tuxford is very patiently waiting.
Just patiently waiting. CCP Vertex just giving
find someone who will look at you the way CCP Vertex
looks
at me.
looks at you. The same sandals, of course, between all these shots. Pretty sure you have these.
I've replaced them now.
Have you?
Yeah, they're now red.
Wow, and very festive.
Yes,
it's on brand.
Yes,
I love it. Then we had, like I said, some more of these as well. This was CCP Paragon and CCP Concron.
Game design.
Game design. This is, I mean, ages ago. This was this is before the WSD stuff was even a glimmer in their eyes. Before we'd ever started talking about landscapes.
The fun thing is that area where we're doing it is we set it up there. Because nobody's worked there. The team wasn't big enough.
I was going to say the only person who was there for a long time was just me.
Yeah,
at like that kind of weird.
Was the one that ran it,
and now that whole area is taken up by
base building team.
Yep, the base building team is over there.
That's where they work now,
which is super cool.
Yeah.
Then we had, let's see here, we had the first couple streams with. Let me put this over on the other side. With CCP Relativistic and CCP Wizard when we were talking about black holes and all this kind of wild stuff. CCP Maxim Cats. Asking for insane things, which is super cool.
That's his
a pretty standard set of affairs.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is, but this was
I remember this.
It's horrifying to look at.
Yeah. So obviously it's definitely Call of Cthulhu, but
yeah, of course.
I think actually this is like one of the very first attempts to model the 3 black holes, which is what's circled in the center of the galaxy is essentially circled in yellow there, with the black holes being the dot, and then those the different colored stars are from the different galaxies. So this is the trailing arms of the rotation as they hit.
Yeah.
And then it's just a sample of like a bunch of systems being connected up using a pathfinding algorithm, like a crystal growing algorithm, to like connect the gates up. This was before we were like, who the fuck needs gates?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
no shit. And then we went ahead to let me move us back over to the other side. We're doing a lot of dancing here. We started to talk to the EveNet team for the first time.
Yeah.
We've got CCP's Sondheim, Legolas, and of course Reuter. Reuter on this one, and then an empty space up there in the top left. I don't know who that was supposed to be, but they weren't there that day. We had a lot of chats. This is very early on. This is like the beginning of like when the wallet was announced for the first time. We were doing the very basic like EveNet stuff.
I actually have a video on my computer from. It's going to be from either late 22 or early 23.
Yeah.
It is. I was recording it. It is the first ever.
Yeah.
In the history of Eve Frontier or Eve Project Maker or whatever, video evidence for the very first time putting an object into a smart storage unit.
Yeah.
And seeing it appear.
Yeah.
On the chain and then pulling it back out again.
Yeah.
It's like a 5-minute video, and that includes time being sped up as I'm walking through different things. There was some proper janking on at that time because it was like the very first time the whole.
Was that how long
the
transaction took?
No, it's because there was a bunch of different steps in the way because you had to online. I actually anchored everything online. That brought all up, etc., all in one video. The actual transaction itself was maybe only like 30 seconds or so. But I remember there was one point where it couldn't detect when you'd put something in the game because there was no state change. So we give it a second little like container hold essentially, and we had these chips, these tokens.
Yeah.
And then it was like you put your coin in the machine.
Yeah.
And then you go to make it do the thing.
It's funny looking back on it now. Was there ever a moment, especially early on, where you looked at some of the way that those transactions were happening and were like, I don't know if this is going to work in a game sense? So did it always feel like this is just something we haven't optimized yet?
Yeah. So I mean, my background is like high end technical engineering work, and I've seen.
He worked in space.
For the European Space Agency, actually.
The European Space Agency.
I've seen things coming from like giga-janky prototypes to a space telescope.
Sure.
And the route from A to B not always clear, but you got to start somewhere, and you never go. All right, that's it. Ship it. You kind of it's proof of concept.
Yeah.
And once you have a proof of concept, okay, the theory is fundamentally sound.
Sure.
Now we naturally had to look at implementation, and we're also we've got the benefit of hindsight with EVE Online, for example. When like right now, EVE Online database, SQL database, single database,
Sure,
gets over 1 billion transactions a day.
Mhm.
Right in 2001, that's just unfathomable.
Right.
Amount of transactions. Just wouldn't it be possible?
Sure.
Not a chance in hell could you do it. Not
Yeah.
even if you had the best computers and systems in the world could you actually build that.
Mhm.
And people knew that at the time, but they also knew that it was going to, the technology will catch up. And
Yeah.
even in the last couple of years, technology in this space has advanced substantially.
Yeah.
And it will continue to advance substantially. And we're benefiting from that. And we kind of, some things, you start, if you've ever seen Wallace and Gromit,
Yeah.
it's like building the train tracks.
Yep.
Like,
You build it as you're going.
You build it as you're going, and you don't need to know where it's going to end up necessarily. You know the direction you want to go in.
Yep.
You know that some stuff will happen along the way that you need to overcome, but you also know that some chasms, which you can see, will be filled in by the time you get there.
Sure.
And if they're not, then that's when you start to make other decisions.
Gotcha.
But most of the time, it has worked out.
Quantum processors. Come on, baby. Let's see. Let's get it done. Okay. Let's go back to this one here. We had the
innocent bystander.
An innocent bystander getting shot here, gunned down in the street. This was the first iteration of the new physics engine, the new Destiny physics engine.
Yep.
Calculating how turrets work, which is different, obviously, than it is in EVE Online. This
physics based, yeah.
A pretty big departure from that, which is not just math based, but also physics based. Love that for us.
Some would argue that physics is just applied math.
Some would argue that. CCP Wizard probably would have some thoughts about that one.
Yeah.
We go right ahead to this one. This was the first appearance of CCP Rolls, now CCP Heretic.
Yeah,
he did change his name. It's a better name.
Coward.
Yeah.
Gotta stick with it.
Should have stuck with it.
Look, he's flexing his systems there. Look at
he is. He set the camera. He could have put the camera in front of him, backwards. Like no.
That flex.
We got my sound dampening wall panels. I got my speakers. Got my monitor. Got my
CCP
keyboard.
Rolls, aka CCP Heretic, by the way, is responsible for the majority of the sounds.
Yes.
That you hear in the Frontier, from the music to the effects to the the punchiness of the turrets to the attenuation of things and different effects.
Anytime you hear your ship crash into something, just know that was him outside with a mic backing his car into a pole.
He does it for
it for the love of the game, baby. The absolute love of the game.
Yeah, shout out CCP Heretic, an absolute musical genius.
Also, long hair CCP Maximum Cats in this one too.
Yep.
Very long hair. It was majestic back then. Different situation. This was the early prototyping for base building. This was the. I mean, we've still used this image, I think, a couple times since then.
Yeah, this is still relevant.
Yeah, it's all relevant.
Very much still this. So this is not something that has been deprecated in any way. This is still part of the vision document. There's a stream, in fact, where you can go watch and find out more information about this. This is like the conceptual visualization of what the path will be, and you don't want to, the whole thing, can't see the forest for the trees and all that nonsense. But this is us sort of setting out the vision for what base building holistically as a system, not just like the act of building the base itself, which obviously we're working on right now, but how that fits into the game ecosystem.
Yeah, the whole loop.
NPCs, the loop, the experience. This is kind of setting that out. And it's still very much relevant.
All of these streams, we don't have any of these online, by the way. These are all saved on my hard drive now. I might have to go through and put these up. I mean, we may need to talk about that. I mean, there's some stuff in here that's not like super relevant anymore, and I don't want people getting the wrong idea from them because they are pretty old now. I mean, they're over a year old, all these streams, but there's a lot of cool stuff still in there.
Maybe we can revisit some of them
somewhere down the line. Moving right along, we had this. This was during the first hackathon, or not the first hackathon. The hackathon we did at in the cycle 3 or cycle 4 hackathon. Or not cycle 3, cycle 4, phase 3 or phase 4 hackathon. Where in the hackathon area there were it was littered with SSUs.
Units,
I mean, everywhere.
I remember as well at this point when we put these in. Before this, the asset for the SSU was something completely different.
Yeah.
It didn't have its own unique asset. We put this in, and I remember it deployed the first one, and I was like, my goodness, why is it so big?
Why is it huge?
And I worked it out based on the size it was at plus its internal volume. It was like 99.9% empty space inside that. So my internal lore justification was that was the rest of. So there's a small compartment to fill it with your stuff.
Okay.
The rest of it is filled with helium, and that's how they float.
That's how they float, of course. They're just like big balloons. These things, and since it's a water-based medium that we fly through. Anyway, moving on. We had this was the winner of that tournament.
Yep.
Or that hackathon.
That was Sovereign. They did the Trinary Games Commission.
That's right.
And they built a game system. They actually ran a little tournament, like cash prize tournament, which is pretty cool.
I don't know how many of those guys are still around, but
I saw some of them at GDC, and they were at YGG over in Philippines. Like
That's right.
3 weeks ago.
We absolutely this was the moment I think for a lot of people on our team where they really saw how well applied this was going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, if you just sort of take a step back and phrase it in a sort of slightly derivative fashion, you could describe this as we gave people a magic box that they could put stuff in and out of, and they built a tournament system out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's completely accurate.
It's exactly what it was. It's super cool, and we've seen a lot of cool stuff since then.
Yep.
But this really was kind of the building block for what was going to come later. We also had what was the first appearance of me on one of these streams early on when we were doing some of the first couple play tests. This was Phase 3. Yep, we were doing. I
can tell because it says there down the bottom.
Yep, it is. Phase 3, Let's Play number 3. We had the Project Awakening logo. We were still calling it Project Awakening, of course, still even back then.
And we still had like the watermarking at the top.
We did.
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever talked about that publicly.
Yeah, let's do
it.
Right, so
okay.
Sit down, story time, kids.
Yeah.
So
just
put that screenshot back up just for 1 second.
Just so people know what we're talking about. We had an issue for a long time where we were closed alpha, right?
It wasn't an issue. It was a deliberate decision. So people who were playing were signing NDAs, and it was pretty important because it wasn't ready for like public consumption. We didn't want to give people the wrong idea. Like this is very much still reminiscent of EVE Online.
Sure.
And we wanted to make sure that our vision was more clear and distinct before it was kind of publicly out there.
Right.
So we had an NDA, and we were like, hey, if you want to play, you're more than welcome to come and play. You just have to sign this and say don't share videos and screenshots.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, reading sometimes difficult for many people.
Yes.
Myself included.
Yes.
So what we did is at the top of the screen, you said it says pre-alpha gameplay. We put the user ID and character ID.
Yes.
And this was your ID, obviously. So if you took a screenshot, we could just look you up.
Yep.
And if it went out, and we could remove access to.
So if somebody posts a screenshot publicly somewhere, you can just look at that ID number and say, "Hey, these guys."
Which happens sometimes. Most of the time, people just did it out of like innocence. Like a lot of it was like, "Hey, check out this. I really like it." People were actually really nice about it.
Yeah.
And they were being like in those instances, we were like, "Hey, you're not supposed to do that.
Sure.
Please take it down." And they did.
Now there were some cases.
And what they would do is they would tactically crop the screenshot so that you couldn't see the top part,
or just cover it with like black boxes.
Or cover it with black bars, for example. Which is now this is intentional, and they're hiding it. Now I had one of our UI developers build me a system, and it actually encoded your user ID and character ID into different parts of the UI elements across the screen.
It was the box borders.
Yeah, if you ever remember, there was like patterns on the borders of the UI elements, like little check marks and stuff like that. That was actually encoding your character IDs with a particular encoding algorithm, which I spec'd out in an Excel spreadsheet.
I was going to say you had a translator too for it, didn't you?
Yeah, because it wasn't just like straight up. It was like a binary with a shift pattern and so on. And I remember this was like 6 months goes by, and I hadn't had to use it, and then we got one, and I was like, "Oh,
yes,
my time! Here we go!" Pulled out like the screenshot, sat there like working it out, and I was like, "Got him!"
We were pretty lucky for the most part. Most people were pretty chill about it. I don't know if we ever had, and most of the leaks we had back then were probably all very like localized, like somebody showing off their group of friends.
Yeah, it was just innocent. Like in general, nothing too serious. There was only like a couple of times where we had to like contact people pretty seriously. But yeah, that's
pretty clever.
And so that was my idea, because I was like, if we just do that, people will figure there's probably something in there.
Yeah.
But if you put one right up in the middle of the screen,
they're gonna be like,
in the open, they're like,
got
that's where it is. And they just people never think to look for the second one.
What secrets were we trying to hide? Actually, the secret was just that, like, what it looked like at all.
It wasn't really a secret. It was just
yeah. I mean, it was more like
we didn't want screenshots and videos out there of something that was so pre-release that it was not going to be representative of anything.
Yeah.
Because once stuff's out there, it's out there, and we wanted to just give it more time so we could have the moment when it looked a bit more ready. We could be like, "Hello, everyone, we are eFrontier."
if we had gotten it to the point, I mean, what we ended up doing was when we finally did do our big like live push, we still had. I mean, there were obviously a lot of Eve elements still left in there, but it was enough distinguished from Eve Online that we were at least able to say, "Hey, look, this is what we're aiming for," right? Which was not something we've been able to do before that.
Yeah. Plus, it was kind of fun to feel like a super spy.
That was very cool. Yes, absolutely, very cool to look like a super spy.
They're like, "How did you find me?" It's like, "Haha, maths."
Right. Moving right along. Then we did Founder Access. This was 1 year ago. This month, I believe it was on the 12th or 13th. It was
10th of December.
10th of December. That's right. So we began Founder Access. Of course, it meant that we had our first patch notes for Founder Access, our day 1 patch, which was good. Honestly, these were pretty tame, all things considered.
Well, that's technically the second patch notes.
Well, right, but we didn't. We actually the first patch notes just said began Founder Access. That was really all it was.
Right.
We were not very descriptive.
I'm sorry,
I
didn't realize that accuracy was so disimportant.
Yes, of course. We're better about it now. Then we had the defects fix where we moved K4T. Chat to K4T. We had to move that one because we did do a little bit of an oopsie. Come to find out, doing a little bit of an oopsie, time-honored tradition around here.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one to fix. We had the first propaganda contest.
Yeah,
where we had a lot of these. We were doing the clone bank propaganda contest. Which
the fun thing is, this is like still pretty early AI times. Like a year ago, like I mean, just to be clear, like AI was very prominent then, and a lot of this is probably like AI.
Oh yeah, for sure it was.
Stuff. But it's still pretty early in the AI like madness that we're into now.
It's I was gonna say even a year later, like the singularity is quick approaching, which is something kind of horrifying. Yeah. We had the first couple streams that I did on like just chill streams in the evenings. This is before CCP Rax at the time. Also CCP Gnosis got a hold of me and said, "Hey, maybe use our fonts instead of just some random ones you got off the internet."
Yeah.
Honestly, fair enough. That was my bad. You can see the rock man down there, bottom left hand corner with the eyes. It's a classic look. But even still here, you can still see, like, if you look down at the bottom, like we're still using like Eve icons back then too. And these are still fairly recent in the grand scheme, like the shield icons, the weapon icons, all super old.
Just one of those things. It doesn't take too much time, but you want to not waste the time and redo them over and over again. It does take some time.
Yeah, no shit. We had the attack on the Moon Eater.
Oh, the circle UI.
Yeah, the circle UI. My God, I know a lot of people have been calling for the return of the circle UI. By the way,
I kind of liked it. It was a way of, once you understood how to read it, you felt like Rain Man a little bit.
I think it still has promise. I think we could probably still do something like the circle UI. As long as we had some variability with it. It was busy back then because it showed you everywhere that you could warp to as well.
Yes, and
that was a little bit much.
And using a circle to represent a full globe of directions.
Yeah,
turns out it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, it's a little bit wild.
That was like the first time. I think it was Michael JD from Reapers who organized this event.
It was Michael JD. It was Michael JD.
First time they tried to take down the Moon Eater.
We had the arrival of this was of course our friends in Rooks and Kings. Showing up.
Well, this is Calamity.
Calamity, yes, of course. The cult of
separate independent entity.
Yes, totally unique entity showing up to absolutely smoke that fleet. By the way, with their fleet of Grusses.
Maybe it's like Goose.
We have not seen
Grease.
That. We haven't seen that one in the Karuta in a long time. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see when those show back up. CCP Maximum Cats win. Let's see here. Some, again, more early stuff. Actually, I think this was probably earlier even than all the other stuff. I think this was a bit out of order, but this was some of the pre-current rock models, because the rocks used to kind of look like shit, and now they don't. They look a lot better now. We did a lot of texturing work on the visual target that we went into Founder Access. This was before that. They didn't look nearly as good as they do now. They look much better now.
They do.
This was you can kind of see it here if you look real close. The old map. This was from
like 40 to 22,000 systems.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a much tighter kind of situation.
This was much more like a concept loop because it took you through different like progressing difficulties, like tiers of areas.
Yeah.
So you needed stuff from kind of the previous tier to move up to the next one and so on. You could fly straight around and just get chunked if you wanted to, but And there was like the different crew drifts and so on.
I can tell that this was before I moved here because the chair that I'm sitting right now has a black T-shirt sitting on the back of it. You can see the hole in for the neck. I had the black T-shirt there because the chair itself, it was like that weird like pleathery upholstery that had just like come off because it was so hot in fucking Georgia all the time. It would just started to peel off. So I put the shirt over it to make it look not so much like shit. It still didn't look great, but either way. And then we had the first arrival of feral CCP Jötunn, a very scary individual.
Imminent before he died.
I don't think that's what this was. This was the Trinary Proving Grounds.
Yeah, that was the tournament they ran.
Yep, this is a player tournament. The Trinary Proving Grounds, which we did some coverage of at the time, was super cool. I still use some of these UI elements too, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
That
was when you were like, color? What color? Only orange.
Only orange, and like that weird cream that we use, but it's a good one. This was just another chill stream, hanging out outside. I believe this was I can't remember which system this was. This is where one of those groups was. It might have been the Reaper House. This was actually right before that group of. There's a group of Karutas up there that's just kind of like orbiting this SSU. That group got smoked by Works and Kings like just a couple minutes later.
Yeah, I remember that.
On camera.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
Which was pretty cool. Was it XC versus AWAR? Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, it was. And then RNK.
That's it. Aki's right. It was when Works jumped Happy. That's exactly what it was. That was really funny. And then we have some more stuff, some streams that we've done this year. This was within the last like 6-7 months. We talked about the modularity of ships. Talked about some stuff that might be coming down the line vis-a-vis the, what do we call that? The spinal fitting, the fitting style, the one where
I know, I'm just gonna let him
on the sides, where like help me, please.
No, you got it.
Like you put it on the one side and put it on the other side, and then the one on the bottom.
Yeah,
it's got a name, and that name is
topological fitting.
Topological fitting. There we go. We named it. We nailed it the first time. This is short hair at Maximum Cats as well, which is fun. We've made the full circle now back to normal. Me short hair as well, which is also cool. We have some more stuff here. Talked about some more icons. We talked about this was.
Why am I just looking up?
Yeah, I was gonna say I love this actually because I don't know why you're doing this. I think you were maybe looking at something outside your window. CCP Goodfellow is not here in this picture. He had just like AFK'd. Or it's just gone, so we just like put this picture of him up there with some glasses on. Maybe he had to step away. I don't remember what it was exactly. But we've just more streams we've done over the last couple of months, and then
do you have a picture from last year's Christmas stream when we had like the virtual set?
Oh, I don't. I have that. I didn't.
Fucked it up.
I'll put it up there next time. We had FanFest. This is all pre-FanFest. This is before May of last year. We had, of course.
I would argue this is in May.
Well, one might say now we are into May. Yes, we had CCP Calera talking about economies.
Those presentations are on YouTube, by the way.
They are on YouTube.
Super interesting.
We had CCP Sondheim talking about EveNet. We had CCP Tuxford talking about carbon. This is just more of a CCP general thing, but also very valuable for us. And then, of course, we had CCP Relativistic talking about creating the universe. Then, of course, we had ours during the keynote. You, me, CCP Goodfella.
I remember. So we were on in the Northernlios room, which is the second biggest room in Harpa, and we were on at, I want to say 11.
It was pretty early. Well, not early.
Maybe 11:30, something like that. And there was a thing before us, which I think was the Alliance panel at 10. And we were there at the venue, obviously early, and I was like making some changes on the presentation on my laptop. And then, of course, we had to deliver it to the tech guys for Harpa. So put it onto their computer and looking at it. And I was like making a few changes as he was like checking it up. Then they loaded it onto the computer for the actual room. And I was sitting at the back of the room making changes on the giant like.
It didn't have the fonts either, did it?
They didn't have the fonts, so I had to install the fonts.
Oh my god!
And then like the Alliance presentation, they were opening the doors in like 7 minutes, and I was like making a couple of changes to the presentation.
I tell a story a lot, but it's really funny looking back on it because like if you can't see, I forgot to add the picture up here too of CCP Maximum Cats, but before the keynote, all of us were sitting backstage, and everybody was kind of like doing like pre-gaming their own way. Like you were, of course, going through your notes, very studious, had everything like listed out. I think I was just like looking at my phone and chilling, in the way that I do. Seems to be Goodfellow was pacing back and forth, like reading over the script that he prepared for himself.
No, I prepared for him.
You had prepared for him, and then CC Maximum Cast was sitting here like with a glass of coffee, just shaking the whole time, like a very small dog.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like sticking my head out before like after the Alliance panel and before ours, and the room was like half full, and I was like, awesome, I'm
Not bad.
I'm happy
Yeah,
with it.
not bad at all.
And then when we came out, it was packed. And people were still trying to come in, and the doors were full and everything. Yeah,
that was kind of nuts. Well, we're gonna be doing it again this year. We'll be at FanFest
We'll be
again
at FanFest,
in May.
See you in May.
I think we're on main stage this year, actually. Maybe. I don't know if I was supposed to reveal that, but I think we might be. Anyway, I guess I've blown the doors off, but that's fun. Moving right along. Again, now we're getting closer to where we are now. This was, I believe, I include this photo because of the face that I'm making in it. I don't know what that face was, but I did make it. Now you can begin to see the terminal over there, bottom right hand corner, or bottom left hand corner rather. The UI or the Neocom has gone entirely.
Was this the one? Yeah, this is the one with shines, right?
Yes, this was the one with shines. Yeah. Yep, we did the gameplay stream with dark shines. We did. This was the same picture I used earlier.
You have the one where you did one with shines, and you guys were just ignoring me telling you what to do for a good like.
I have that video. I did not
20 minutes.
There's no way
I had to phone you.
No way I could convey that with a single image. But I do have that video. I included this photo twice, I guess. I just really like it. Who knows? That was who truly can say what was going on there. And then now we're getting to like this is some real sauce. This is within like the last like 4 or 5 months at this point. We have the first iteration of the new map. This was right after we got rid of the circle UI and we went to this version of the map. I believe this was in the I'm wearing a bathrobe, so it's probably not the official stream, but this is the maybe like the introduction to the Frontier thing we did for a while, which was pretty good. You can see me almost getting smoked here by some lasers. It was very loud. I also include this picture because that face I was making. Some wild stuff. Moving right along. And so here we are. So we are now, after having done all of that, we're at now this, I'm just going to go ahead and, did that not play? This is a video. Why not play?
Where to go? I mean, it seems like a you problem. I'm not going to do anything.
It doesn't seem like a me problem. Okay, we're going to forget about it. We're actually kind of running over time anyway. But all this to say, we've come now a long way. I mean, if you think back to where we were way back at the beginning of this thing, all the way back to like the first iterations of the UI, the first iterations of the gameplay loop, like back way.
Well, I've got way older screenshots. And
I was gonna say, I mean, this is just the stuff that I have from last year. I mean, we've been doing this thing now for a couple of years, but if you go back all the way to like this, like going from this and this to where we are now, months and months later at this point, the scope of the thing, I feel like a lot of times it's like it's like boiling a frog, right? First of all, you shouldn't boil frogs. It's a cruel thing to do. Frogs are friends. But this idea that you can, get to the point where, you don't recognize big changes happening when they're happening because it happens so slowly sometimes. Yeah. But seeing it, the comparison between the two so starkly, at least for me, has been pretty dramatic. I mean, now we've got the WSD controls. We're looking ahead pretty closely at. I'm just now realizing there was another video clip in here that did not play because there's a clip from a year ago during one of those streams where I'm sitting there talking about wanting to see manual firing and hoping that we'll do that at some point. And sure enough, we're doing that. The same thing with the WSD controls. The same way with the new landscapes, the same way with the new NPC AI, the same way with new world bosses, the same way with new.
There's a bunch of cool stuff coming.
I mean, there's cool stuff within like the last couple of days. Yeah. Some things that I've seen that I wanted to get into this stream.
I said no.
He said no. We're going to hold off on those till the beginning of next year. Like 3 brand new things, including one today. Even if, we're at this point where we've talked about this a little bit in the past too. All the work we've done, especially in 2024 and now a lot of it in 2025, has been getting to the point where these iterations can come faster and faster because we're really laying a lot of the groundwork for some of these things. Yeah. And now here we are at the end of 2025, looking ahead to 2026. And there's a lot going to be happening in 2026. A lot that we have not even discussed yet. We have, of course, the big SWE migration coming up here before too long. Shout out to our friends. Shout out to our friends in Miston Labs. We had a stream with them yesterday. I hope things are well with you guys. We have, of course, FanFest coming up in May of this year. So if you want to come to that and hear more about us doing stuff then, we're doing stuff then. And then later on in the year, who knows? I'm sure there'll be a lot of other cool stuff then.
There will be.
It's been a long time.
Some cool stuff coming in January.
Cool, yeah. There's actually cool stuff coming in January. The hell, there might even be cool stuff coming before the end of this month. I guess we'll have to see.
I mean, I fucking hope not.
I think you might be surprised. Anyway, friend, thank you so much for joining us here on Frontier Friday. It has been a wonderful year. I say this a lot. I can't stop saying it. This is the dream job. It's the best job I've ever had. It is a blessing, as always, to be able to work alongside such a talented and devoted group of designers, engineers, programmers, project managers, whatever they do, producers, directors, everybody else on our team. Both here in Shanghai, in London, and then all of you across the world. This is, I think, something that we talk a lot about: collaborative design, collaborative development, and it's serious. Like this is not a thing that happens without all of you and all of the people here.
Yep.
So,
and it's great to see the community engaging with different stuff as well. And we've talked about in the past this whole co-development thing, but it's deeper because like we've released a bunch of our stuff open source, like all the smart contracts. And I see Protodroid in chat there. He has pushed PRs into our open source thing, which have been reviewed and accepted. He did push a bug in, which we have fixed.
The scoundrel.
Yeah. But like that idea of open source and people being able to actively contribute to it is pretty cool. So yeah,
it is.
Merry Christmas.
More than anything else, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for being here with us in 2025, and we're looking forward to you being here in 2026. From all of us here in Reykjavik, Iceland, I have been CCP Jötunn. This has been CCP Overload, and we have been the Eve Frontier development team. We'll see you next year.
There's more as well.
There's more of them over there.
We're the real.
We're the brains
real
behind
ones.
the operation.
The brains behind.
From all of us here, enjoy the rest of your 2025. We will see you in 2026. Happy holidays, season's greetings, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate it together. And we, until next time,
awake
and remain awake.
Until Christmas.
Sometime after Christmas. You can go to sleep after that. See you later, guys. Bye.